today's topic, inspections on residential, CNI. Robert, what is your take on the inspection market right now?
Oh, it's very complicated. We have so many inspectors that think they know solar, but I see from both discussions on the net and from colleagues in the business that inspectors, they are not up to date.
Yeah. But and how is there any standard or like form demands or like rules, or what does the law say, or can anybody be an inspector today?
Yeah, that's actually one of the problems, that you don't need to have a special school or a certification or anything like that. Anybody can say that I'm an inspector of solar and then start to do a business.
Yeah. And so this is problematic. And what do you see the biggest fault that the inspectors do when they do inspections, or?
What I can see from the discussions is that all the inspectors, they don't know the background so much of how to construct and how to design. So they only go by the books.
Yeah.
So if it's not 100% according to the book, then it's fail.
Yeah.
And actually things can be better than the book, but they are so unexperienced, so they cannot see what's better than the book and what's
but can it be like problematic for somebody who just follow the manufacturers, like for example K2 the mounting system, the instruction? If you just follow it step by step, it can still be wrong, or it is 1 millimeter wrong or 2 millimeter.
Yeah, the problem, what I have seen personally, is that very often when you do these projections and sit with the computer, things is perfect.
Yeah.
But when you get out to the roof, things is not perfect.
Yeah.
So there is always small derivations that you cannot foresee, that you have to handle when you are up there on the roof doing the installation. And sometimes you have to reinforce it and put more hooks maybe than what's described. And then if you haven't followed the layout that you got in the computer, then you get to fail.
Okay.
And the inspectors doesn't understand that this is maybe stronger than what was first intended.
Yeah. So what would you advise be to PV installers that has issue with inspector, for example?
Look at the background. What education, what experience do they have, and also take references.
Okay.
And also be very clear that when you get the name of an inspector or get called to an inspection, check the inspector's background.
Okay.
So you can say that, okay, I will accept this inspector. I know that he is experienced, he have the knowledge to inspect this.
But is it possible for installer to say no to one inspector?
Yeah. It's in the agreement that the inspector has to be approved by both the one who ordered the installation and the one who is performing the installation, the installer.
And for the customer, the end customer, what advice would you have for the end customer when choosing an inspector?
Make sure that they are experienced and well-renowned, and also if check so they are familiar with the type of installation you have. If it's a residential or CNI, it's a huge difference to inspect these two and also have the knowledge of what problems and what used to be normal faults.
Yeah. So to summarize, you would say like, it's not always right to follow the manufacturer's instruction by the millimeter. Sometimes you need to, you have to deviate from this norm because of the roof or the setup. So there's nothing like black and white. It's always a little bit gray. But then you have, as an installer, if you can explain why, or if you can explain how you made this better, then it should be all right.
Yeah. I used to say that inspection is a judgment sport.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, before we started to work together, you worked at the VSP, and you were also inspecting a lot of projects.
Yeah.
What was your biggest mistakes people did, and what would you give as a final insight?
The biggest problem was at that time that it was so little knowledge forwarded to the installers. So I would say the product management was the biggest fault, that there was no one there to have a overhead view of all the installations, how these guys on the roof performed. Very often they didn't have anyone to call and ask if there was deviations from the planning. That's what I saw very often.
So as long as you and me have been in the PV industry, we have seen a lot of changes and the development in the whole sector. And one of the topics right now is inspection, and a lot of inspection, and a lot of our customer PV installer that gets like maybe faultily get bad like judgment calls. So this is one topic that we want to like raise up more.
Yeah.
And to help also.
Yeah, and it's very important when you do an inspection as inspector to say if this installation is approved or not, because I see very often now these protocols that just have a lot of remarks, but they don't say if the plant was approved or not.
But isn't it so when you first start a project, for example, in Sweden you have AB04 or ABT06, so the two different rule sets, and how you first agree from as an installer to the end customer, this is how you follow, and also the inspection should follow the agreement.
Yeah, exactly. It's very important that the inspection is normally, so the inspector checks, have this customer got what was agreed?
Yeah.
Then of course there can be safety measures as well in this, but it also, is it agreed that this should be according to this, and who is responsible?
Yeah.
Because I also very often see that the installer, he's not the one who has the contract with the end customer. It can be a sales company that are the responsible part.
But should the inspector inspect stuff that isn't agreed upon? Or is it like, can you say that this is not approved installation in terms of what's not agreed upon?
No, actually the problem is that you have to check what was being agreed.
Yeah.
And I see so very often protocols that are doing checks that are totally out of this.
Yeah.
So for example, electrical installations, that's also a part that has to be limited to what has been agreed to be covered in this order, what has been ordered.
So a good inspector would only inspect on what is the agreed upon different steps, and everything outside you cannot say approved or not approved. Is that correct?
Exactly. If you go according to what is the standard for how to execute the inspection.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your insight. For more information, you can visit our website and watch out for the next episode of our One Take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.